First thing I have here is my canvas wrapped board. It's really nice to have one of these so that your workable clay doesn't stick to your tabletop. I have my clay bag over here. I just have that luxury because nobody else is here. I also have a spray bottle, and these are the tools that I'm going to start with: a rolling pin, a fettling knife, a wood tool, a toothbrush, and a fork. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a chunk of clay. I'd say, again, maybe like baseball size, like your Coil pot. And you're going to take the rolling pin. I just kind of like to flatten mine out with the hand. Makes it a little bit easier. I'd say stand up for this part too. The rolling pin, if you stand up, you'll have a little bit more leverage over the rolling pin and clay. It'll go a little bit faster for you. And just, you know, like in elementary school, you rolled out pancakes to form things. Just roll out a nice flat pancake for yourself. Okay, next step, I take a wood tool and just draw out the shape that you want. Do a very simple shape. Don't do anything too complicated. A lot of times Coil pots can start with a nice oval or circle. I'd say no bigger than your hand, maybe a little bit smaller if you want a smaller base. This is going to be the bottom of your pot. So once you have that kind of drawn out, if you don't like the shape, you know, you can really easily erase it at this point. The clay is pretty malleable and plastic. So then with your fettling knife, you can just cut that little pancake out. Save all of this clay. Don't throw it away. You can definitely use it again. Although it's getting a little bit dry, you might want to spray it with your spray bottle, or if you can't get a spray bottle, just a little dish of water. It's nice just to sprinkle on there. I like to make this smooth and kind of more finished looking on both sides. After we fired these and they've gone through the bisque firing, you really don't want any sharp edges on the bottom of your pottery. It'll scuff your furniture. So just do a little bit of smoothing. And then this clay can be used for making coils. I'm just going to kind of roughly put it into a snake shape. Put it on my canvas board. It's really wet because I just sprayed it. And roll it into a coil. You might think rolling a coil is easy, but it does take some training on your hand too. Like when I roll coils, somehow I always get this flat side here. It's just my pressure is not even on all sides. So I just kind of put it up on its side like this. Tap it down. Roll it some more. Okay, and there's my first coil. All right, I've got my flat base here, about as big as my hand, give or take, and I've got my first coil ready to go. What you could do, just for the sake of time, is roll out a bunch of coils at one time and just have them all in queue ready to go. Once you have that done, your next step would be to take, there's a couple different ways to do it. You have to score and slip the clay. So scoring is just really simple, scratching the surface of the clay all the way around. And score, also you're going to want to score the side of the coil that's going to attach. This is like creating an interlocking connection between these two pieces of clay. So that's scoring. Slip is when you're going to add some water. Slip is actually liquid clay. And it acts as a binder, like a glue. I'm going to attach my 2 pieces of clay on the sides where I scored earlier. And, oh, I have a little bit of a gap right there, if you can see right there. I'll take care of that in a minute. Grab that wood tool that I had. My fingers are not small enough to fit in this little corner, so I'm just going to smooth that out. Make sure that it's attached together really well. It's 2 separate pieces of clay, but it should look like one. That's when you know you have a good attachment. Okay, I'm going to fill that little gap before I move on any further. Sometimes you might have extra clay, sometimes your coils are too short, too long. That's the nice thing about clay in this early stage, is it's easy to manipulate. Okay, score, slip, attach, and fill that gap. Okay, my next coil goes on top. Okay, my next coil I made extra long so I didn't have that gapping issue anymore, but the same rules apply. I'm going to score, and I'm just going to score and slip simultaneously with a toothbrush. Former student taught me that technique. Works pretty well. If you want to do the fork technique, that's fine. Just make sure you don't forget the slip. Again, the slip acts like a binder. So this is scored and slipped. I'm going to attach on that side. Now this coil is going to wrap around, complete the circle, and then I'm going to have a little bit more here that I can continue wrapping around. But first I have to score and slip. If you're going to do the toothbrush technique for scoring and slipping simultaneously, it's a really wet way to work that works in your benefit sometimes. As you can see, I've got all this slimy clay in here, slip, and that could actually, my pot, if it gets too wet, could just actually melt. So water is good, too much water is bad. So you have to kind of find a happy medium there. Okay, so I've added a few layers of coils. You can see they're kind of getting a little cracked. They're actually cracking because they're a little too wet at this point. What I would like to do is probably just kind of lightly wrap this up and set it on the shelf for a day and come back to it after it's been dried a little bit, because with all this moisture, the clay is really having a hard time holding together. It could just crumble. But what I wanted to show you is, instead of just doing coils on top of coils on top of coils, you can actually get a little bit more creative with this. And if you had a coil, you could do all kinds of decorative things. And I'll show you guys an image of some different ideas. But something like this. And you can create little decorative pieces like this that would then score and slip and add those onto your pottery as well. It doesn't just have to be curls. You can do like little, little balls, or just like little mini coils like that. Just make sure they're really well attached. Okay, one last thing I want to show you about finishing up your coil pottery. I always get the question, how do you make it flute out and taper in? It's a really simple process. Again, you're going to be adding coils on top, so score, slip for attaching. Take your coil, if you want it to kind of taper in, that's sort of the natural direction mine is going right now. What you have to do is just place your coil on the innermost lip of the top, the previous coil. Oh, look, that's perfect. Perfect alignment there. And just little by little, your pot starts tapering in. And I'm just going to kind of quickly do this one, show you. I'm not going to score and slip it for the demonstration purposes, but you can kind of see how that starts to flute in a little bit. Same thing, if you want it to start flaring out, score and slip and attach it to the outermost rim. So it's about placement of the coil on the previous layer, okay? And it's not all going to happen in one coil layer, it's going to happen over time, over multiple layers of coils. So this is how my demonstration coil pottery turned out. It's not too bad for a quick little demonstration. If I had more time, I would really love on it a little bit more. But I would really encourage you guys to go out on the web, search what have other people done with coil pots. There's a lot more creative solutions out there than what you just see here. And yeah, have fun.